Okay, we're now going to move on to multiplying and dividing with fractions, starting with fractions of an amount. Okay, by fractions of an amount, we mean finding fractions of a whole number, of a quantity. And it's the same as multiplying the fraction by the whole number. So if we were asked to find 3/4 of 60, what we're actually being asked to do is multiply together 3/4 and 60. We're doing 3/4 times by 60, or 60 times by 3/4. It's quite straightforward. We need to do two things. In effect, what we are doing is we're dividing the 60 into 4, so we're dividing it into 4 piles, and then we're multiplying it by 3. Okay, so use the example of money. If we had £60 and we wanted to find 3/4 of it, we would divide the £60 into 4 piles. Okay, so start with 60 divided by 4. 60 divided by 4 is 15. So that means we've got 4 piles each of a £10 note and a £5 note. So 4 lots of £15. And if some lucky person gets to keep 3 of those piles, then we add together 3 of those piles. So 15 times by 3. So 3 of the £15 piles added together gives us 45. Okay, so 3/4 of 60 is 45. It's a little bit easier if we have a question or a situation where we're finding a unit fraction. That is a fraction where the numerator is 1. So for example, let's try 1/5 of 200. Okay, 1/5 of 200, we still need to divide by the denominator, divide by the bottom number. We're dividing it into 5 piles, but because we're only keeping one of the pile, we're only finding 1/5, we don't really need to do any multiplying. So 200 divided by 5 is 40, which means that 1/5 of 200 is 40. Quite straightforward with that. Okay, multiplying fractions is another thing that's fairly straightforward. So a fraction multiplied by a fraction, all we need to do is multiply together the top and multiply together the bottom, and then if we need to, we might have to simplify. Okay, so 2 times by 1 is 2, and 3 times by 4 is 12. Okay, we do need to check that they are in the simplest form. At the moment they're not. 2 and 12 are both even numbers, so they'll both divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and that is in simplest form. Okay, and lastly, dividing fractions. Dividing fractions. There's a little bit of a trick to dividing fractions, and that is what we can do is we can turn the second fraction upside down, the fraction that we're dividing by, and then we can multiply. So if we were going to do 5/6 divided by 3/4, we could do 5 divided by 3 and 6 divided by 4, but that would end up with something really messy there. We'd end up with a fraction or a decimal above another fraction or decimal, and it'd be a right mess. So we're going to do two things. One, we're going to flip the second fraction. Okay, and that's the fraction that we're dividing by, that's these 3/4. And then we're going to multiply. So, I'll give myself enough room here. So, keep our 5/6 the same. Instead of 3/4, we're going to turn that upside down. So instead of 3/4, we've got 4/3, and then we're going to multiply them. So 5 times 4 is 20, 6 times 3 is 18. So it's 20/18, and we can simplify that because they'll both divide by 2. So we've got 10/9, and because that is a top-heavy fraction, we know there are 9/9 in a whole one, so that's 1, and there's 1/9 left over. So our answer there is 1 1/9. Okay, job done.